Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks again to Drew and Anna for that insightful first session. That was really great. Okay, so we have a panel focused on songwriting, which is what this whole event, the focus on songwriting and the process. So I'll do some intros. However, we've already met the lovely Drew here, so I won't go through the bio read again. You're very familiar with him now. Next to Drew, we have Natasha Shanks, both a self-managed artist, the Little Ward Street Band, and running music business Smash Enterprises for some years. Natasha fronts the Little Ward Street Band as a singer and songwriter. They have recorded, released and toured 3 EPs and a debut album across Australia and garnered national airplay, reached the AMRAP top 10 charts. AMRAP, the Australian Music Radio Airplay Project, if you're not familiar with them. So top 10 in the charts. Added to ABC Country, Double J, RTR on high rotation, won WAM Awards for Best Country Act and WAM Song of the Year, and Boy Up Book Country Music Awards. Nominated in the International Songwriting Competition, landed in at number 32 on the top 40 album charts for the 2020 AU Review. Natasha Shanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just round up the reviews for Tash. Thank you.
Just Bojesse.
Okay. And then next to Tash, we have Bojesse Pigram. So Bojesse is talented multi-instrumentalist, singer-songwriter from WA. Hailing from Yarrowoo and Wadjuri-Mob, Bojesse has performed around Australia on multiple platforms, including television, film, theatre, social media and stage. He has refined his songwriting skills over the past 6 years to evolve into the unique creative artist he is today. Bojesse continues to explore the collaborative writing and producing scene with multiple pop music projects and syncing deals on the horizon. Please welcome Bojesse. And down the end, we have Blake Rhodes. For the better part of a decade, Blake, or otherwise known as Mr. Rhodes, has been a true alchemist of sounds, both ancient and futuristic. Prolific producer and beatmaker, award-winning lyricist, performer and esteemed composer for stage and screen, his accolades, much like the scope of his vision, are beyond measure. Please welcome Blake.
I got my mate to write that for me. Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us. If we can kick things off just with a quick whip around, just to see how long you've actually been writing music for, because some of you might have started at a very young age and others could be a very, very long time. We'll go down the panel for this first question. So Drew, you can kick it off.
It would have been, I think, 16 when I had my first attempt at writing something, 15, 16. So, you'll know my age after this, but that's about 25 years ago. And then I think the first song that I ever finished, I would have been 17, which was a big, long epic that I got told sounded like Pink Floyd, but I didn't really know anything about Pink Floyd then.
Tash?
That's awesome. I started writing poetry in high school, and I didn't really come into songwriting until my 20s. And it was a slow burn. But yeah, about 20 years ago.
I think I was about 15. Most of high school was sport, but I come from a musical family. But yeah, I think 15 would have been the first attempt. I was pretty injured, and then
About 20 years ago for him.
Yeah.
As well.
It's like 12 years ago.
Yeah, I'm about the same. About 15, 16. That was like 13 years ago.
Angsty teenage years.
Angsty. I was listening to a lot of My Chemical Romance.
Okay, so we don't have to go down the line for the rest of these. You can just jump in where you like. But I'd love to know where your love of music came from. Where did this all start? Where did your writing all begin as well?
I yeah, like I said, I come from a musical family, so always kind of guitars around family gatherings and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure my first attempt at writing a song was just crushing on my best friend, and probably wrote it roughly without thinking, just recorded it in video format and then uploaded it to Instagram or Facebook and just see what happens, sort of thing. And I think that's where my whole thing with music came from, is like I always write from a very emotional point of view. So I think that form of expression is kind of what kicked things off for me. Blake?
What was the question again?
Well, where did your love of music come from? Where did this all start? How did this all start for you?
It's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. You know,
Look forward to your answer.
I'm the only musical person in my family, but I grew up listening to all kinds of things. Like my grandmother would play Loretta Lynn and Patsy Cline all the time, and my cousins would be listening to pop music, and it's all over the place. So I just kind of absorbed all of that, and the internet, LimeWire.
Yeah, I get that, because my dad's a truck driver, and so he'd make these mixtapes for my mum and bring them home, and she'd play them when he was away. It was really cute, really sweet. And and so when he'd come home, he'd DJ the record player. And so my influences were whatever Dad was mixing, like whatever Dad was putting on the record player, and their tastes became our tastes. And then we went through those years where you start finding your own music. And but they kind of had the bedrock. They set the scene at home, and they're all musical in my family. So there's lots of trumpet playing and piano players and violin players and all the rest of it. So yeah, a very nice family, getting around playing music together kind of a thing. So yeah, it started in the home.
Thanks, Tash.
Thanks, Drew.
I have a musical family. I'm very, very lucky to have the upbringing and the opportunities that I was afforded, given. We used to make compilation tapes. Me and my brother used to make them. More so my brother. But my mum's a speech and drama teacher. She used to put on like school plays. And my brother went into more the acting sort of stuff. So the creative part was always in there. My parents met as phys ed teachers, so they're quite sporty but musical as well. My dad used to play music and like acoustic in bars and that sort of stuff. So he was always playing. He released a record too back in the 70s. I think my brother ended up with his flares and all his clothes from the time. So my brother and I were always, sort of doing creative things together. We used to, like I was saying before with Anna, when I figured out I could do that overdubbing thing, me and my brother used to just make these like sort of comedy tapes, listen back now. It's pretty ridiculous, but it was creative. I think the point where I realised I wasn't going to be a sports player or any of these other things that I really didn't know what I was going to do was when I heard Nirvana, which is really the kind of the thing that gave me that, it's flicked a switch, I guess, by Green Day and Offspring and that kind of stuff. But early on, there was like, whatever my parents were listening to, there's a lot of all sorts of stuff like Billy Joel, CCR and Elton John and lots of Dire Straits, heaps of Dire Straits. Yeah. I just love that tune, son, listen to that. Yeah. That's how I got started.
Universal. So you all, it's quite different styles that we've got on the stage in your writing. I'd love to know about the process, if you can tell us, give us an insight into your writing process, how you actually do this, get this thing done. This mysterious songwriting thing.
Yeah, I'll kick off. I guess for me, it depends really. Like, it's never the same. I guess the only common denominator in how I write would be start with the music first, whether it's drums or if it's whatever I'm vibing on at the time. White noise ran into a bunch of different things, you know, it's whatever. It doesn't really make sense. But yeah, sometimes it might even be a voice note, like I've got an idea just walking down the street and I'm like, let me get something in here, this cool idea, and then come back to it later. Or don't. My phone's full of ideas that I never come back to. So yeah, for me, it's all over the shop.
I agree, yeah. I use voice notes a lot. I think that's like one of the more powerful tools we have. This generation, everyone's got a phone or an iPhone, and it's literally just swipe down, press a button, and you're recording. And for me, usually if I'm playing guitar or if I'm playing keys or something, usually that never matches what I want to write. So for me, it's always good I'll record a chord progression, and then later on I'll record in my voice notes just an idea in my head, and more often than not, I'll find two that match or match similar enough that I can kind of rework them. Or even I'll have like an idea, not like it as much, and then like a year later, I'll be scrolling through my voice notes, I'll press play, and I'm like, oh, that's a sick chord progression for this melody I had in my head the last couple of days, and then it just kind of, the song's written for me from previous work that I've done, so.
Speaking of works you didn't like, no.
Yes, what?
No, I'll pull it up later, don't worry.
There's an example for us later, hey? I've got a higgledy-piggledy approach every time I start a new year with songwriting. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be organised and it's all going to be in my book, and I'm going to have a one-stop shop access to songwriting for me, because otherwise it's in 17 books that I have lying around the house, in the shed, at my mum's house, in my guitar case, in my guitar bag. But for me, as a songwriter, I enjoy travelling a lot, and I get quite prolific on the roads. Something about the open road, something about being away from my immediate environment of my everyday, just promotes so much creativity. And so, yeah, I'll get out on the open highway and out will come the phone, and I'll just start writing some lyrics. So lyrics come first. They're usually found in my phone, unfinished or finished. And then, guitar part will come later, where I'll be sitting in the rehearsal space waiting for somebody, or if I have five, I'll pick up the guitar and I'll start strumming, trying to find a melody or a chorus. And then I'll pull up that voice memo, or I'll pull up those lyrics, and I'll just see what lands. And if I'm feeling it and I wake up the next day, this Beatles reference, if it's stuck and it's there the next day and I'm dreaming about it or I'm singing it in my mind, when I wake up, I'm like, yes. All right, let's get back to that. Let's work on that. But if it doesn't really come back around, then it'll sit in my phone till the day I die. And there she had 14,000 voice memos.
Is that all?
Yeah, relate to a lot of what all you guys have said. It's still a mystery songwriting for me, which I kind of like, that it, there's not any set formula or one thing that it starts from. It's usually based around more the music, the instrumentation and chords and feelings and rhythms and this sort of stuff, rather than being a lyrical, conceptual thing for me. Although, I do have, lyrics come in here and there, or, it could be a song title occasionally, like, has come in, and that's sort of generated that's happened once, actually. There's a song called Set Fire to the Hive, came from this strange jam. that we had when we're just sort of mucking around, and it just sounded like anarchy, which, you know, I think anarchy gets a bad rap, you know. Got a different idea of what that is these days, but it was more chaos, I think, and then it just sort of found its groove, and then, yeah, that kind of stemmed from there. Jamming and collaborating is a big way that things come to fruition. I do take a lot of voice memos too. I like to, you know, some place where it's very metaphysical, you know, it doesn't exist, there's nothing tangible, but just when you create a voice memo, you know, and you give it a name, like already to me, that's like a first step into something being born into the world, you know. So even when I'm collaborating with people, we'll try, you know, we'll say, oh, that's something, let's come up with a cool name for it, or, you know, we leave it a little bit so it's sort of born a little, you just do a bounce down, put it on the desktop. And it's like it's giving it a chance to live, and then they all don't get out there in the end, you know, or sometimes, you know, there's only a small percentage, and people, when they see the live show, they only really see, you know, the final product. They don't see all of the chaos that goes into it, and all of the you know, the grind and the things when it doesn't work and all of that sort of stuff. So a lot of it to me is just perseverance and persistence, and, you know, what is it, how much percent inspiration, the rest is, you know, perspiration and work. But, you know, I'll try to make it as fun as possible, and it usually is fun, but sometimes it is a grind, and you just got to, like, show up and do it. But, yeah, I'm still mystified by it in general, and I'm still learning, and constantly, I'm always a student when it comes to this stuff. That's the best thing about it to me, is if I can wake up in the morning and still be, you know, in awe about the creative thing, and just like, wow, what wide-eyed, you know, and there's so much. I don't have enough years in my life to explore, you know. That's a good place to be for me.
I'm not quite sure what that is, but speaking. Oh, okay. So, collaboration, co-writing. I'd love to know how you approach that. You might have some regular co-writers that you work with, but maybe you've also had some writing sessions, you know, with other people as well. And it'd be great to know how you approach co-writing. And you know, because a lot of people in here, you know, what's the best way? What are some tips as well for how to approach that? Do you go in with ideas? Yeah, so let me know about your co-writing and collaboration and how you think the best way to set that up.
Bojesse.
So for me personally, I come from writing a song with the guitar alone in my room, and my collaborational sort of experience is fresh, and I think I did the Natsmo's
We'll talk about it.
the Resonate Song Hubs thing, and that was a good experience for me, and that was kind of my first experience in a more structured sort of. Before that, I guess the only experience I had co-writing was like me and my mate in his house or in my room. We'd just like mess around for ages. Resonate was very much more structured, and I think that's more sort of how things are run. And for me, it was very eye-opening to go over there and be in that structure for the first time and kind of get chucked in and, to be honest, kind of fall flat on my face, because I think with my experience, I'm so used to having no friction, no shame, no sort of external feelings or thoughts come in from, like, if I'm alone in my room, I'll write something that's not good, then I don't care because no one's hearing it. Whereas when we're in those sessions, you kind of feel this sort of pressure to say something profound or write the next, like, one-liner that goes viral on TikTok or something. So it was a good experience for me, and it was a learning experience in the sense that I think I went there with an expectation and I kind of got sucked into trying to people please and do things that weren't necessarily my strength. So for most of the sessions, I was the artist, and instead of sort of bring what I naturally bring to the table, which is more melody and ballad type lyrics, I tried to fit into a shoe that maybe they weren't even necessarily putting pressure onto me. I was just kind of preconceived that whole idea that I need to be more pop or be more this or be more that for this session, when in retrospect I probably should have just come in, been a bit more confident in what I know I'm good at, and then bring that to the table, as opposed to try and fit into the mold that I thought. So that was a good learning experience for me. So I guess coming from a solo sort of songwriter, if you're going to go into a collaborative experience, I think you'll find more pleasure in bringing what you know and what you feel is good to the table, and not be embarrassed about that at all. So that would be my advice.
Profound.
Fine fit.
Maybe I'll go next. I've mainly been, I don't know, it's kind of both for me, the solo thing, and I mean, I've always played in a collaborative band, but it's been a long-term thing. But at different stages of created more on my own and brought it in and built it on my own, and then got input from other people. Then we collaborate, and then take it off into my own again and go, no, it's mine, and now I'm taking it. So I've learned quite a lot over the years, especially in long-term collaborations, and it's all, to me, it's all about relationships and communication. And communication happens in different ways. I could be talking about musical communication as well. Working collaboratively, I think it just comes down to awareness just a rapport and building that trust and feeling comfortable, like the hang. We're talking it's all about the hang. When you feel comfortable around someone, that's when it really starts to flow, and you can get into that flow state, which I think is there's a really great TED talk on the psychology of the flow state too. So I highly recommend reading that, watching that. I guess the flow state this guy calls is when there's enough of a challenge, like a high challenge, but you've got a high skill set, a low skill set and a high challenge, so you're going to be anxious. So sort of plotted this thing around this X and Y thing, which makes a lot of sense to me. That flow state is critical. Like it's called Flow. The Secret to Happiness is the title of his talk. I couldn't agree more. That's sort of when time goes out the window, and you in a collaborative environment, like a jam is a completely different thing. And a lot of the music that I've created has come from jamming, and I've jammed a lot with people, when you've only just met, and, or you haven't even met, you meet through a jam, but jamming with people that you know very well is just, and when it goes well, it's just another feeling to me that is just you can't beat that to me. It's always better with other people involved, but having said that, those times like you were talking about, Jesse, where you can just be on your own and like dance like no one's watching and not feel that you don't have to worry about what anyone thinks, but there comes a time when even just showing it to someone, a friend, is huge for me for getting perspective and talking about something that's just in here or here, giving a chance to, like, it feels like a moment where it's born into the world a bit just by having another observer take, and they don't even need to say anything, and I've just heard it with someone else's ears almost, collaboration's just awesome, but I think it's the combination of the two that interests me, and that they sort of inform each other too. But just dropping the ego is the most important thing to me. It's just go into any session with just and listen and give things a chance. You might have your way of, you really want it to be a certain way, and if you feel strongly, you should see that through. But also, there might be more than one option, and I've been proven wrong a bunch of times when I just knew I was right, you know, and I fought for it. But to me, it's all about the song. At the end of the day, that's the thing that you know, when you're all, and sometimes there might be one section or one part that you're really like into and you're invested in it, but if it doesn't make for a good song, then just, you got to let it go, or maybe you could, you know, repurpose it somewhere else, or, but yeah, it's a bit of give and take, but there can always be too many cooks in the kitchen, so that's something that still trying to work out. Like, I don't have any answers, just more questions.
There's been a bunch of times over the years where I felt that extreme uncomfortability going into an environment where it's collaborative, because I haven't felt ready or like I've got anything to offer, and I get really vulnerable, and it's just so overwhelming sometimes. But my advice to anybody that experiences that for the first time is just showing up is the first step. So when I think about collaboration or cohorting, I'm just like, whoa. But then I'm thinking, no, you get so much to learn. You can just be in the room and see what happens, and the energy that comes from everybody in that space who might feel the same way or who are there for the same reasons, which is just, you know, to experience whatever happens in that room can be either really ecstatic or really like, yes, it didn't really work out so well, so that's okay. But you can go into a songwriting collaboration with some half-baked songs, and somebody can be like, oh, they're really rad, but I might do this, this, and this. And then you've got a finish to a song, and that can feel quite validating and satisfying as well. And then there's some trust in that, because you're like, cool, I trusted the process, and here we go. And then you can go into a Song Hubs experience and be thrown into a different genre, and just to, again, be in the room is awesome, but also to challenge yourself. If you're a country songwriter and then you're working with a pop act or a producer that's got some beats, and you've never had experience like that before, you're just sitting there like, I don't even know, but I'm going to give it a go. And so you find yourself just having fun and playing in that space. And that in itself is just, exceptional. So collaborations can look and feel so awesome, but also frightening. But the end product is this amazing song sometimes. I've witnessed the Song Hubs be quite successful, and Little Wall Street Band have got a couple of songs on their album from those experiences, which have just been magical. And I love those songs because it's just a real capture of everybody's energy at that time, how they came together to write that song, where they found the common ground, how they went into a room, complete strangers, and they came out songwriters, friends, and, you know, parents of a song. Joint custody. And where that song goes, and how people hear three different, you know, versions of someone's showing up that day is, something else, isn't it? I don't know where I'm going with that. Sorry, I digress. Collaboration, give it a go.
Yeah, I think even if the song doesn't work out, like, you can go into a room and you're all might be amazing, and it just might not be a good song at the end of the day, you know? Like, it's not always gonna be a hit. And I think as long as you learn something from that experience, or you walk away with like a new friend, great, even better. Because maybe you can come back and write something even better the next time. You know, I think everyone else has said everything else. But yeah, I think one thing about collaboration is, if the song isn't great, that's cool. Leave it there, and then write another song.
And we talked about songwriting splits and how to deal with that in the opening session. If we can chat a little bit further about that, your experiences with actually dealing with songwriting splits, maybe within your band, and then other co-writing sessions, and your experiences and any advice you have for dealing with that.
I'm still learning because I'm in that boat of it's awkward and you never really know when to bring up the conversations, and I guess I kind of learned the hard way where I was just in a room with my mate at the time and we're just messing around and I showed him a song and then it just kind of got to that stage a few months later, getting ready to release it, the master comes back and then all of a sudden it was him featuring me as opposed to my song, and then it was just a whole like learning experience from that, and yeah, it's just like, I guess one of those things that after that sort of happens you kind of switch onto it, but yeah, it's just one of those things, I guess, where you need to prepare beforehand is better than being stung later. So that's kind of all I have on that, because I'm still not the best at bringing stuff up early anyway. So
in my experience with song splits, when I was going through CMIT in Leaderville, learning how to be a musician, we were told about the 4 band members, the 4 splits, and it was a really great benchmark for the experiences that we're having. My first band was called Dead on Contact. It was a hard, heavy act. So I was having some fun in that space, and it was 25% split for everybody that was in the room. And so that was a good way to move into the next act, and then kind of talking with Tenille at APRA about we've got 5 members now, so how do we make that split work? We just had the conversation in the room at the time when the song's either being written or being worked on. So the song might be written, but then everybody's having a bit of a jam and working out stuff. And so that in itself is them being part of the whole process. So yeah, the splits come from that. Songwriter gets the 50% and the rest get divvied up by the band members in the room jamming it out. But when we're writing songs, I've got some friends over in Nashville that do the Nashville splits. So it's like there's 3 of us in a room, that's a third. Or there's 2 of us in a room, then it's 50%. And so just kind of, just doing that quick jig jab before you get stuck into songwriting is like, 50-50, cool, good. So that's been our experience.
I'm still learning too. I mean, in terms of carnival and the long-term stuff, that's been a 20% split between the 5 members since it became the current lineup. I think, well, actually, first with the first album, which was mainly me doing most of the writing along with the singer, and our bass player, played the parts, and the other guitarist had just joined the band. We didn't have a drummer at that point, so I played the drums, and we ended up splitting those songs, with APRA, and kind of going through each individual one, and we sort of chose these figures and then went through everyone, but I was pretty adamant at that point, which I think I should have been, but I could see, a bit of, especially from one member in particular, who did spend a lot of hours with me, even though they were kind of a bit put off. And then, but he was like, yeah, but that makes sense, and I'm like, yeah, fucking oath, it makes sense. I don't know if I can do But then it came when the next album happened, the Sound Awake one, which was truly a collaborative effort. That one, we got a new drummer, and the bass player just formed this crazy connection that was just a joy to be a part of and to watch. And I'm like, I guess I'm like atmosphere texture guy now, And the bass player just came into his own. He was a guitarist originally, so he was writing a lot of stuff too. And it was so hard. It was just, we realised at this point, if we're going to go, we did this, I did that. Let's just call it 20%. And then I'm glad we did that, and I'm still glad. Even though it's been really hard for me, and especially John, who's another main it's quite often would be us, doing all that extra work. We did do more work. There was more time, just that, what do you call it? Just the office work, the boring stuff, editing and all of those sort of extra bits. But, when it came to this intellectual property thing, which I don't even believe that crap anyway, but it's still a collaborative effort, and the psychology of going, we're all in this together, it's just made that, we just had that was the best tour I've ever done, just, with the relationship between the band and how it's just family, and even though, along the way I've definitely whinged, and I've had some really hard times that I've blamed on the band and my decision to give myself the measly 20%, but I'm just so glad I did, because I'm happy, and I have my friends around me, and it's a long-term thing. But I know that's not going to work for everyone, and so it is an important conversation to have and to keep bringing up along the way. But yeah, when it comes to new collaborative stuff, which is, I'm only just going into doing my own solo stuff now. I've just sort of started playing covers since COVID, because I'm like, I need to earn some money, better sing. And then I was like, oh, okay, I can, I've got, I always knew I could, but I only just sort of got the confidence now to be able to, all right, I could do this, I could sing, I could drum, and, but that's sort of down the line. I've just only really been collaborating with a lot of other people in the last sort of 5 to 6, 7 years. So I'm really new as well to learning a lot about this stuff, and I do, a little bit of production on the side, not to the level that Anna does here, but that's one thing where I don't take points or do co-writes or anything like that. There is one project I've done that, I've said, let's go 50-50 in this, but apart from that, I just log in the hours, I don't do the same sort of level that Anna does, but I get someone in and I just say, hey, this is the time I've got, and that's all yours, even if I do end up helping them out and writing something, I'm just, for the level of the stuff that I'm doing, that's something I'm just like, rather clock in, clock off, and do my job and keep that objective kind of thing,
Yeah, I just kind of do Nashville splits with everything. It's easier, and yeah, it's just easier, honestly. Like, I'm always going to put in more time after to polish things, because that's just how I am. And, if that's how it is, that's how it is. Also, I see it as a thing of, 30% of 0 is still 0. So
What's the Nashville split?
it's just even. Everyone in the room, could be 50-50, could be, well, you guys do Nashville splits. That's even.
Better call that.
Yeah. But yeah, but I've also done like features on other people's projects where it's like, they've done all the work beforehand, and I've come in to just deliver a verse in the last 2 weeks before it goes out. And it's like, here's 20% of this song. I'm like, all right, cool. It's their song. They're paying me to do it, so cool, I get some back end as well. So, yeah. That's me.
Has been sometimes as well, just to extend on what we were talking about, the fee. There's sometimes a songwriting like, hey, let's write a song. Cool, my fee's a couple of $100. Don't worry about any APRA, royalty or anything like that. I don't want my name on anything, kind of just like a ghostwriter, I guess. Someone that's just kind of wanting to earn some income on the side to help as well. So you might come up against that, or come up in that environment where there's just a fee paid straight out, and then you don't have to worry so much about this housekeeping with APRA. But advisable to have the conversation and always, suss out what the situation is, so that the awkwardness can just be dispelled, and you can get on with creativity and having playful fun and getting to know each other, rather than I wonder if I'm going to get a lot of money from this. Yeah.
In that situation, I would always suggest get that in writing.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. 100%.
Just in case it does become a Bieber song or whatever, you know, you never know. But yeah, that's it.
Awesome, thank you. We've got lots of songwriters in the room, but maybe some people have written, you know, just a song or two. And it'd be great to hear if you have any techniques or have learnt things, heard things along the way, especially if you're dealing with writer's block, for example, and some tools and tricks that you might have for getting something started and, yeah, when you're maybe a bit stuck.
Yeah, there's a couple of little tidbits that I can throw out there from experiences with writer's block. If you think about your playlist, some songs that you're listening to on high rotation, and you think about the title of the song, sometimes if you're to sit down at a page and write 3 imaginary titles to your next big songs, what would those 3 titles sound like? What would they look like? What would they feel like? Usually the title of the song will be the hook or chorus, or the big driving melody. In my experiences, when I'm stuck, if I kind of go in cleaning up my songwriting, I might use that as a tool to get me started, to just start the process and the ball rolling. Otherwise, yeah, writer's block, get in the room with somebody else and see what common ground you have, and have a chat and find if there's a thread, because sometimes that can also help too.
Go. Just leave it. Just walk away. Just go for a walk. Go outside. Yeah. Touch some grass. Touch some grass if you can find it. Yeah, I just, if I'm got writer's block, I just kind of stop trying, and then it happens, which is always fun. Or I just watch a bunch of YouTube tutorials and stuff, you know, trying to work out how to make a song like someone, and then do that. And then it never sounds like the song I'm trying to emulate, but it's a cool idea.
No, I agree. Just drop it and stop for a bit. But I guess that also comes down to the format in which you're collaborating. Like, obviously, if you're doing a song hubs, the goal is to pop a song out a day. But I guess 80-90% of the time you're not at song hubs. You're either by yourself or you're just with a friend or someone you collaborate with often. I have a friend that when we work together, we sometimes will get sucked into just like conversing too much, and it'll turn into like we're just like each other's therapists or something, and we're like we're just talking and the music's kind of happening in the background. And yeah, I find with that particular friend, when we're going to write something, it's either I need to stop the conversation, or sometimes we just need to stop the project. And like, if you're under like a time thing, like, so he's an hour's drive, I'm not going to drive an hour just to stop and then do nothing. So we'll generally, like, if we hit a wall, we'll stop that particular project, open another file, and we'll just work on something else, even if it's not the main one I wanted to work on. It's better to just, if you've got that time constraint, to just switch projects, start writing the other song, and then go back to it. Because I guess if you're looking at the screen too long, or trying to write this one verse too long, or even on a smaller note, go to the chorus, write a bridge, and just switch it up to get your mind refreshed and look at it later with fresher eyes. I think is a good one.
Yeah. On that, actually, like, I just had an experience with a friend of mine, really good friend of mine. We've been writing songs together for 5-6 years, and we just wrote my entire EP that's coming out this year together. And one of the plug. If you come into my session later, I might open a file. No, but one of the songs we wrote, we went into a studio for a week, 5 days, and we wrote 8 songs in a week. And then I've gone back and refined them. But one of the songs, I am not very, I'm not happy with what I wrote the lyrics for, and I've pulled it off my EP. But the music is still amazing. So there's a better song in it than what is there right now. So just also don't be afraid to just pull something and start again, you know?
I agree. The amount of times I've finished a song, been semi-happy with it, and then a couple of years later, I'll just be messing around with that song but fully rewrite it. And then, I don't know, I feel like you know when it's one you really like. And then for me, it was like always finished, but I didn't love it, and then rewrote it, and I was like, way better. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think having a break is a good one. That's or just stopping. Sometimes, you just got to, whether it's just that day and get back to it tomorrow, or it could be, in my case, I've had gone, well, I'm just going to put it down and do something else completely for like a few months or a couple of weeks or however long. I don't even put a time on it. Just go, and then I guess if you taking a different strategy, just could be something simple like, just start with a chorus or, Brian Eno's got this cool thing called oblique strategies. That's really, you've heard of that. That's a very creative bunch of like, you call them like cards, like cue cards. What's an example? Like, I don't know, some kind of ambiguous stuff, like a random theme, write a song about, I don't know, antelopes. That's pretty random. There's probably better examples than that. Or, only use these 2 chords. A lot of it's based on limitation. I think limitation's a really important tool, just whether it's a time limitation, because there's a big difference between whether you're being creative for your own stuff or whether you're being commissioned, paid to do something for a certain time. And that's a good way to jolt you back into being productive, is when you just have to, like, whereas I need it on my desk at, so and so. And if you don't have that, then if there's a way you can emulate that, or just have an accountability buddy, or accountability / vibe, inspiration sharing person. I've got a few friends like that. That's just like send each other riffs, and keep me updated with how it's going and get some feedback and your vibe together like that. Long drives do it for me. Listening outside of where you've been listening to it, the importance of just bouncing something. Like, I remember we used to have CDs, and just that was also one thing where I'm like, I'm not looking at it on a screen anymore. And I've noticed some studios, they have the screen off to the side, and they've got a desk there and the speakers, and they're like, they're looking between the speakers, and they're really not thinking about the way it looks, because that can really get in the way sometimes, is when you're going, oh, that beat's not on the grid, or it looks funny, which I think the visualization's a big part of it, but this visualization here, when you're seeing the music or just like in it, is a big thing. So just to have the option of not looking at it, whether that's through your dashboard cinema while you're driving, or just silence. To me, like, I think most of my decision making and best work happens when I'm on the way back from the studio, or when I've just been jamming on this idea for ages, and then suddenly that one little random thing that happened would be like pop up again. I'm like, oh, okay, that, it's sort of go into silence, and your middle ear is still going, and gosh, I'm trying to turn that off. Some nights it's like just trying to get to sleep, and that's just nagging away, you know. But kind of need to do that in order to be able to switch off. But yeah, different environments. The shower, I don't know why the shower, but there's the water is a conduit or something.
Yeah.
I know someone told me that they got like this little recording thing that you can buy that's like waterproof, and you can like a voice memo thing for your shower. Idea number 4.
My mate's got a whiteboard in his shower that he got from Kmart.
Oh, really?
It's, the writing. The writing is like waking up that inner writer in the morning, first thing. If you get up, reach for a notepad and a pen and just write for a couple of minutes and just get that inner writer happening before the day starts. And then once you've done that for a couple of days, even a week, you'll find yourself really descriptive in ways that you hadn't expected, because you've started the day with a relationship with this inner monologue. And yeah, it can be so powerful to a writer's block and writing to get the juices flowing. But also, I was part of a songwriting club when I was hitting a bit of a rut in between EPs, and it was really great to kind of get myself out of the style of songs that I was writing, because there was this like, Tash, you're a pretty sad writer, like write a happy song kind of attitude. And so yeah, I got into this club called I Heart Songwriting, and you have all these people from around Australia in your little club, and you write a song a week. You have 1 hour, and you just kind of record it on your phone and send it through. You've played on the piano or your keys and guitar or whatever, and they give you a concept, and they give you these chords, and they say, this is your title, this is the idea, these are the chords we want you to use, you've got an hour, go, chuck it through. And then at the end of 10 weeks, you've got 10 songs that might be good, might not be good, but you've put yourself out of your own writing style, and you've given it a go. You've just decided to write about something abstract that you'd never write about, object you'd never write about, in the chords you'd never write with, and it's just trying to break away from what you just go to normally. I'm a minor chord writer. I like to sing a sappy song, country writer in me. But I was writing about clotheslines and shit, I felt like I was heading down the Courtney Barnett way, and I was like, the hoist, hoist. That's my Irish. The end.
I think just on writer's block and just different techniques to get different sort of things out. I've heard it before, but I've only just recently started trying it. Like, if you're uninspired in terms of like, I can't think of any cool chord progressions, or I can't think of any melodies, and you feel like writing, a really good trick is get your laptop and open a session and go on Splice. You can go on Splice, literally type in piano or guitar or literally anything, and there's hundreds of thousands of samples. Drag that into your session, chuck auto-tune on your vocal track, and just hum nonsense into the microphone. And that, I think it was, I saw Charlie Puth talk about it. That's how he writes some of his melodies, is he'll go on, maybe not Splice because he's a producer, he'll make the beat, but this is like a little hack way of doing that. And you just crank the auto-tune all the way up so it's like T-Pain, and then it's playing a chord progression you wouldn't have thought of, and you're just singing into the microphone, and it's chucking your voice all these different melodies, and then you kind of find one you like, and then you turn it off or you keep it on, whatever you want, and then you kind of just work on that, and then you kind of put some lyrics to the auto-tune or the whatever, and it can really kickstart your, I would have never thought of this melody, I would have never thought of these lyrics because I never would have thought of that melody. Like, it all kind of connects the dots. And that's a really cool little hack even if you don't play instruments and you're like, I can never get my mates or anyone to send me a chord progression, Splice and auto-tune.
We've got time for probably one question. Does anyone have a question that they'd like to ask now?
I do, but if someone
You do?
else wants one, because I asked one before.
I think you're it. Nobody else jumped in. So, did we have a mic? Oh no. Okay, if you can,
That's
nice
fine.
loud voice.
Everyone can hear me, yes. So I was just wondering. I've heard one spectrum of songwriters say you have to sort of be you know, capable in multiple genres. Whereas on the other end, I find some songwriters are like, no, find your niche and, you know, whatever you gravitate to, just really perfect that. What is your take on that? Do you think it's, I guess, more beneficial to be multi-skilled or to really have your sound and people would say, hey, this guitarist plays this way, I want him on my record or on my song? What is your thoughts on that?
Well, it depends what you're doing. You know, if you're like collaborating with a lot of people and you're an instrumentalist, you know, I think having like a lot of strings to your bow and you know, learning different styles and is going to serve you well. I think that'll serve you well anyway, but I would definitely value, you know, your own, you know, just doing what feels right and doing you, you know, because there's only one you and there's only one combination of you know, whether it's a collaborative or solo thing. And then that's where the key is to me is that thing that no one else can do. But you know, I really, through my process recently of, you know, after 25 years of writing my own songs, going into the cover thing, and it's kind of back to front, you know, a lot of people, but it's been so revelatory for me, like especially standard tuning. But just going and, you know, seeing how all of these different, in all these different styles over the, you know, and then just going, wow, I've got so much to learn. It's hugely humbling. And yeah, and then I feel like a bit more comfortable if I'm in different scenarios that I can, you know, have a go at maybe a bit of a country number. You might have a different idea about that, whether I'm any good. But you kind of have to out here. And country wasn't my thing, I'll be honest, but you know, I'm loving it now. And there's so much to learn too, in all the different disciplines and styles that I think your own music will come through even subconsciously if you let it in, then it's going to have an output somewhere.
Yeah, I think there's strengths to both, but just to kind of go on the other side of that, I guess if you're looking at more, not so, I wouldn't say niche, but like specialized, I think there's like a really good old quote from martial arts that's something like, fear the man that's practiced one kick 1,000 times than the man who's practiced 1,000 kicks one time. And I guess when you dive deep into specializing in one thing, that's going to open up to other areas as well. It's not going to be like you're only good at singing in G. Like, it's not going to be that specific. It's going to be like you're great at singing in general sad songs, but you can turn that into other things. Like the amount of times me and my friends have sat down and wrote a sad slow song and it's turned into a pop song. Like, so it's not like, oh, you're hindering yourself because you can only write a ballad. There's other ways to emulate the knowing a bit of everything, and that can literally come down to my mate's good at writing pop songs, I'm good at writing ballads, so together we make this. So it's like, yes, you can be good at everything, or you can be good at one thing, and it doesn't really answer your question, or you can be good at one thing and then surround yourself with people that are good at fill the holes in your skills, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think it depends on the person. Really, it's up to the individual. Like, I personally would lose my mind if I was only doing one thing. But I know people who just write blues, you know, and they do that amazingly. So I think, and they're happy. I guess, yeah, it's just kind of the individual and what their vibe is.
It's totally about vibe. I started out as a folk songwriter and then somehow ended up playing country music, and I'm like, what? But also, if you sing Patsy Cline for fun, then you're going to be country. But yeah, and then now we're playing a kind of rock band because we lost a mandolin player and there's no violins anymore, and it's three dudes playing really heavy rock, and now I'm like, cool. Can I play the electric? No. But it's like, it's whatever's filling the cup, you know, and also having fun and playing. Like, just go with the energy, and because whatever you're going to do in that space, if you're being authentic and having fun, then people are going to really resonate with that. So regardless, yeah, authenticity, hey. If you're kind of like, I'm going to be Ed Sheeran, and that's not your vibe, but you're trying, then maybe people are going to go, it's not the vibe, because, yeah, you're just not going with the energy. I don't know, like, I think it is what everybody said here on the stage. It's pretty much like a vibe, go with the energy. Yeah. Good question, Bart. Made us all think.
Great.
Thank you so
That's a good
much.
question.
We've run out of time, folks, but you will get to spend some more time in the workshop sessions with these amazing guests. So if you join me in giving them a big round of applause, and thank you so much for your time and information.